Do you actually know what happens in the mind of your cat when they look at their bowl? Most of us view feeding as a chore, a schedule, or perhaps a moment of excitement. But for a cat, food is never just calories. It is the primary language of safety and the most direct path to emotional regulation. We often assume that if a cat is picky, they are being difficult. If they are lethargic, we assume they are lazy. We've been taught to look at feline health through the lens of pathology, waiting for something to break before we try to fix it. But there is a hidden mechanism at play. There are specific elements in nutrition that do more than fuel the body. They recalibrate the feline nervous system. This isn't about superfoods or marketing trends. It's about biological resonance. When you provide the right internal environment, behaviors that seemed like personality flaws often simply vanish. This is where the shift begins. 1. The anchoring power of tryptophan. Most owners assume that a cat's anxiety is purely situational. A loud noise, a new guest, a moved chair. We try to soothe them with petting or pheromone sprays. While helpful, these are external fixes for an internal imbalance. In the wild, a cat's calm is dictated by the availability of specific amino acids found in fresh, dark poultry meat. Tryptophan is the precursor to serotonin. Without a consistent, high-quality source, a cat's brain remains in a state of hypervigilance. They aren't mean or aloof. They are physically incapable of entering a rest and digest state. When you introduce high-quality, lightly cooked turkey or chicken hearts into their diet, you aren't just feeding them. You are providing the raw materials for emotional stability. You'll notice the midnight crazies soften. The startling at every footstep begins to fade. It seems like a small dietary tweak. It isn't. It's the difference between a cat that lives in a state of survival and one that lives in a state of peace. 2. The neurological clarity of omega-3s. It seems like every supplement bottle mentions skin and coat health. Because of this, we've relegated fish oils to the category of aesthetics. We think it's about making the fur shiny. But for a cat, the skin is merely the outermost layer of the nervous system. The real work of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, found in small oily fish like sardines, in water, no salt, happens in the brain. As cats age, their cognitive functions can become clouded. They may vocalize more at night or seem confused by simple routines. Owners assume this is just getting old. In reality, the feline brain is incredibly susceptible to oxidative stress. By providing clean, marine-based fats, you are essentially lubricating their cognitive gears. When a cat can think clearly, they feel more secure. A confused cat is a defensive cat. A sharp, nourished brain allows them to navigate their environment with confidence. This is what attentive owners begin to notice, a return of the spark in their eyes. 3. The digestive piece of targeted fiber. Have you ever noticed your cat becoming suddenly irritable or aggressive for no apparent reason? We often label this feline moodiness. However, there is a profound connection between the feline gut and their emotional reactivity. Cats are obligate carnivores, but their digestive tracts are sensitive to inflammation. A cat with a heavy or slightly inflamed gut won't complain. They won't cry out. Instead, they will withdraw. They will stop seeking your touch because their body feels like a burden. Adding a tiny amount of steamed, pureed pumpkin or specific prebiotic fibers doesn't just help with hairballs. It lowers the internal noise of the body. When the gut is quiet, the mind is quiet. If you see your cat as family, you realize that their physical comfort is the foundation of their ability to love you back. You aren't just fixing their digestion, you are removing the physical barriers to their affection. 4. Moisture as emotional security. Most people believe that as long as there is a water bowl down, the cat is hydrated. This is perhaps the most significant misunderstanding in feline care. Cats evolved from desert dwellers. Their thirst drive is naturally low because they were designed to get their hydration from their prey. When we feed dry, processed kibble, we put the cat in a permanent state of subclinical dehydration. This creates a subtle, constant stress on the kidneys and the blood pressure. A dehydrated cat feels fragile internally. They become more prone to Vandenberg behavior, hiding or reacting poorly to change. By incorporating high-moisture foods, whether it's a high-quality wet food or simply adding a splash of bone broth without onions or garlic, you are lowering their cortisol levels. A hydrated cat has a more resilient nervous system. They are more pliant and adaptable. And this is what most people miss. Water isn't just a nutrient, it's a stress management tool. 5. The amino acid guard, taurine and heart logic. You've probably assumed that taurine is just a line item on a label. Vets mention it, but rarely explain the psychological fallout of its absence. Taurine is essential for cardiac muscle, yes, but it is also a powerful inhibitory neurotransmitter. It acts as a stabilizer for the electrical activity in the brain and the heart. A cat low in bioavailable taurine, often found in fresh organ meats like liver, can become prone to feline hyperesthesia, where their skin ripples and they seem electrified or overstimulated by the slightest touch. When a cat's internal electrical system is firing correctly, they can finally relax into your lap. They no longer feel like they are on edge. Emotional translation. A cat who feels physically stable feels safe enough to be vulnerable. When you provide the foods that stabilize their heart and brain, you are telling their body that it is okay to let its guard down. 6. The rare luxury of fresh enzymes. We often feed our cats dead food, highly processed, heat-treated nuggets that have a shelf life of years. While these meet basic nutritional standards, they lack the living enzymes found in fresh, raw, or minimally processed proteins. Think about how you feel after a week of eating only processed snacks. You feel sluggish, perhaps a bit blue. Cats experience this too. They are built for the high-energy, high-vibration intake of fresh tissue. When you introduce small amounts of fresh, veterinary-approved raw snacks or freeze-dried, living treats, you see a shift in their vitality. They move with more grace. They engage in play more readily. It's not just energy, it's the joy of movement. A cat that feels physically capable is a cat that engages with their humans. Withdrawal is often just a symptom of low-level physical malaise. 7. The ritual of the shared scent. Finally, we must look at the food itself as a bridge. In feline psychology, sharing food is not a pack activity like it is for dogs, but the smell of food is a powerful anchor for scent memory. Using highly aromatic toppers, perhaps a flake of plain cooked salmon or a dusting of nutritional yeast, creates a sensory event. Because a cat's sense of smell is so closely linked to the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, the scent of a special food associated with your presence creates a deep subconscious bond. This isn't about spoiling them. It's about creating a positive emotional Pavlovian response. When the smell of high-value food is consistently paired with your calm, quiet presence, you become the provider of not just calories, but of good feelings. This is how trust is built, not through dominance, but through the consistent provision of safety and satisfaction.